Today we're going to talk about the Gonzo Grip System. It is a unique, highly customizable and multifunctional grip, and I'm going to go over all the features in this video. Hello friends, hello YouTube, how are you guys doing? Rainbow here with another Gecko mod video. It is Gecko week day number 5, and today we are talking about the Gonzo Grip System. As I said in the video about the Gecko 2.0, this is the new standard grip system, and in this video I want to explain to you all the features that this has and why we choose it. The Gonzo Grip System was designed and developed by Teffer Designs and Rainbow Mods&Props, so it is a Rainbow Mods&Props exclusive. There are many reasons why this stands out compared to all the other grips. Number one, it was made to be a quality of life usability upgrade. So this grip is just so much easier to operate. It makes priming the blaster so much easier compared to the original grip. Number two, the Gonzo Grip System was designed to be multifunctional. So whichever kind of look you want, you know, Picatinny Rails, short Picatinny Rails or whatnot, or whichever kind of grip you want, you can have it in one grip system. So you've seen in yesterday's video, this thing can also have a C-clamp alpha trooper. It can also have a pump grip on the bottom. It can even have a side pump grip and a T-pull. But because all of these features are way too many parts to actually hold them in my hands, I have them spread out on the table here. Which is why I'm going to flip the camera up there now so we can go through each and every individual setup that you could possibly do with this grip. I can explain them all and I can show them all to you so that you can see all the features the Gonzo Grip System has to offer and understand why I chose it to be the standard grip for the Gecko 2.0 kit. Alright, here we are with the Gonzo Grip System and all its components spread out on the table. Now I'll be going through each and every individual one as well as their setup, so you'll know how to change configurations, install other stuff. You will see it's actually pretty straightforward because usability and user friendliness, if that is a word, was actually one of the key design ideas for this grip system. Alright. Let's start the basic. You have seen the basic grip system before. Before we talk about this, the core obviously is the new priming handle. I have one of the old prototypes here. You can see the changes compared to the standard one. Like these sections here are closed and it has heat inserts all over the shop. The ones on the side, depending on which grip you use, you're not going to use all of them, but they're all in here because different grips will require different sets of screws. Up the top, we have M2 heat inserts for the top plate, which is this one over here. And there is different designs for the top plate. Right now I'm using this one here, this hole in front, just ignore it. The only place where we don't have an M2 heat insert is with that screw right here. This is the screw that holds the handle return spring, like so. And you never ever have to take that one out once it's in there. So there wouldn't be a point in having an M2 insert. And the problem is, and I learned this the hard way with this prototype, because that has an insert, the inserts that I use stick out a little bit too far on the inside and you end up scratching over the top of your blaster too much when installing. Once it's in place, it doesn't matter because there's a groove in the slide, but getting it over the slide and getting it over the catch in the front, this is gonna scratch it, which is why we decided to not have them because it's actually a little bit overkill. If you buy this kit with the heat inserts already in place, you don't have to worry about any of this. But if you install the heat insert yourself, the holes on the side are designed for 6mm inserts, which come with my kit, and it's just about enough. So don't push them in too far. They should be flush with the top surface here, otherwise they stick out on the inside too much. And if you set the M2 heat inserts, be aware they heat up really fast and don't need a lot of pressure, otherwise you just punch them through, so be careful with those. Let's go and talk about the grip system. The standard setup is going to be this one. First off, down here we have the rail delete, which gets rid of the Picatinny rail in the bottom. I personally just think this is a slicker look and I like it, which is why I have this as a standard. This just clicks on and off, so just like that. If you want to have the rail, no worries. You're just going to have to get rid of the rail for some of the grips. This, however, can stay on for all of the grips. Now the standard setup, the sight is always going to be the same. You're only going to be changing the size of it. The standard setup is the full grip. So this is actually a really nice full grip. just because you do have so much more surface to grip on and you're not going to get your fingers stuck somewhere in between the priming handle and the slide. In order to change or swap out anything here, the tools you're going to need is an M3 Allen key, an M1.5 Allen key, an M4 Allen key, and a standard screwdriver Phillips head, depending on which sort of M2 screws you're using. What you want to do, you just get out these two screws, nice and easy, and since it's heat insert, it goes really quickly. There we go. Now we have this out on the side. I might need those actually. And then you can see you can now access this screw here, which is the standard from the Gecko, which is also the one that will hold this, which will hold the slide movement. If you need to access the screw, this is as easy as it gets. Now you can have the standard grip, or you could have two small grips if you wanted to. So that screw will always be available. This is a setup that you could do. It's an optional one. I don't like it as much as the standard grip because then you will have to worry about this hole. But in all fairness, that was never a problem with the standard Gecko for me, so it shouldn't be. But I just like this one better. But you could do this. The other option that you have for the side of this standard grip is Picatinny rail. Now this is a very beefy rail, and depending on what you're going to put onto it, you might want to use all 4 screws, or you might just want to use 2. That'll be up to you. And I know this is relatively big, but it has to be, because on the bottom it has to, you know, cover up those cones where the M3 heat inserts are placed in, which is why it's a little bit bigger. And now you have Picatinny rail on the side. Like if you wanted to, you could have Picatinny rails on both sides. Now this would be the full Picatinny version, and you can see it's bigger than the standard grip. You can easily grip onto the Picatinny rail. Now with these Picatinny rails, you have the option to attach multiple things to it, obviously because it's Picatinny, but the main thing why we have these is in fact this grip right here, which is an angled side pump grip. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous to some, but bear with me because using this is actually so damn comfortable. I love playing an entire day's worth of games with this setup. And so these grips, by the way, this is the angled grip. This is the standard grip that you've seen in yesterday's video. They're all set up the same. So these are printed in 2 parts, as you can see here, and then they are screwed together. And then you have these grip scales if you want, and they screw in like this. There's a plain variant and a cryptic variant. You can swap the position as you like. I would put it roughly here. This is where you need the M4. And now you have a side prime Gecko. And I know the profile of this is going to be ridiculous to some. For some reason, I do actually quite like it. Now let's get the magazine out real quick. So this, that is just so nice. I do really like the feel of this. And as I said, I've played an entire day's worth of games when I was testing this grip with this setup, just because I like it so much. It makes the whole priming action, also the slam fire action, even more comfortable than the pump grip that you've seen yesterday, just because it's out here and not underneath the blaster. And yes, I really cannot stress how much I like this. The other thing that this does, it now frees up the Picatinny rail on the other side. So now you could attach, I don't know, a flashlight or something on the side here. Even though it looks odd, and it's definitely not holsterable in this configuration. But again, I would use this when I run the Gecko as a primary blaster, so you don't have to worry about this anyways. I think that's worth noting, by the way, if you haven't seen it already, I have this slight return spring mod in here. Even with all this added bulk, and even with a flashlight here that has additional weight, and even angled upwards, the slight return still works. I would suggest that you actually push it forward with it and you only have it to assist, because it might not be able to close all the way all the time. But I just find this really interesting to see that, okay, even with all the weight, this still goes. So there you go, angled foregrip, which is why this is also labeled AFG. So this is the angled foregrip variant. And if you use the bigger Picatinny, which I would recommend, you actually can place this wherever you like. You can play around with the placement a little bit. Since the shorter Picatinny rail will just disappear under here, I highly recommend that you have this set in the middle, like so, which will lock you into the position right in the front. I personally think the grip should be placed a little bit further back, just in terms of force distribution, but I have set it up roughly around here, as you've seen. But with the long Picatinny rail, you can have this, you can experiment with this, you can try around and then have it set up wherever you like. And of course, you can also put this on the other side for left hand. So this is obviously also an option. There you go, side prime angled foregrip, a thing that you never thought a Gecko might have. Next up, let's talk about the pump grip setup. You have seen this in yesterday's video. It is very straightforward. This is a bracket that goes over the handle, just like this. And then it will sit in the front here on those two, and will be screwed in with 4 screws on either side. And then it adds a Picatinny rail to the bottom. The bracket itself has an M3 heat insert in here, which is for the optional C-clamp. The way to install this will be just slide it on here, take a screw it in place, and then you're done. You can just slide it off if you want to use the other grip. Now, how do you install this? It kind of wants to go over here. Now you have to use a little force by just sort of pushing this outwards. 1, 2. It does sound a little horrible, but trust me, I've done this so many times, there is no trouble doing this. So now secured with 2 screws, that is the setup here. As I said, this slides on, M3 in here, and then you have your C-clamp pump. So if you wanted to install the pump grip, it has a direction which it needs to be. These things need to go in the front, or that groove needs to be in the back. That groove here is to make space for the trigger guard. So again, this is an M4. So the position is exactly here. So the screw wants to be in that ridge right here. If you're not sure, it should be flush with the front. And then that'll be M4 as well. Now you got your pump grip installed. Works like a charm. And that's all it is. There you go, pump grip installed. Now, the 2 spaces here, yesterday in the video, I had these little grips on it, so you could still do the top prime. What you can also do instead, I like to do this on this side, is you could get a tiny Picatinny rail, or a small Picatinny rail, and have this set up here. This takes 2 screws. So what you could do is you could have a tiny Picatinny rail on this side, and now you can attach a flashlight or whatever light you want right here. And you would have it in kind of similar setup with the sight foregrip, but it'll sit in the back here. Quite nice. You can also have it here that make it probably more accessible if you need to switch it on and off. I actually always switch it on and off from here and then go like this. But yeah, this is why you can have this set up as well with 2 short Picatinny rails in the back. And again, even with all this mass added to it, the slide return works like a charm. So in order to get this off, you do not have to take the pump grip off. You can obviously, but you don't have to. You need to get these screws out. And then what I normally like to do, I rest this against my body. So I sit this blaster in my lap. It's a little bit awkward to do it on camera because I kind of have to hold it somehow. You just sort of pull this outwards slightly and push it forwards at the same time. There we go, that's 1. And now here comes the awkward part, rest it against my chest. There we go. And that's it. And that's how you get this off the blaster nice and easy. All right, last but not least, my personal favorite, I teased this yesterday. Yes, you can have a T-pull on your Gecko. And this is actually where you need those heat inserts in here that I've mentioned in the Gecko 2.0 video, because this is a T-pull for the Gonzo Grip System. Way this works is you put it over here and you connect it to the back set of screws. There you go. With these screws now in place, you're going to put two screws in the back here, 1 on this side and 1 on this side. And you can see by the groove what this is doing. It's guiding the T-pull onto a downwards motion. That's on purpose to make sure that you're not pulling upwards, because then you wouldn't be engaging the slide lock. So just take those. And 2. And now you have a T-pull Gecko. As you've seen, slide return still works. Now, I know a T-pull is an acquired taste and some people love it, some people hate it. And this is why, you know, you don't have to go. I personally was always a little bit, meh, I don't really like T-pulls. But then I tested this grip system at a game day and I gotta tell you, this is just so much fun to use. And now what it does free you up, you could go have these up the front so you can still do the top prime. But what I ended up doing is small Picatinny in the front, like so, on both sides, like this. And now you can go and have a flashlight or like an illuminating light or UV light or whichever one you use up the front. With this setup and the flashlight on there, I played a lot of games and it was so much fun. The only downside to this T-pull system is that you will need the screws in the back here. We've tried and tested and failed at many other iterations where we didn't have those to guide, where you end up pulling this upwards in just the heat of the moment. So you will need those. If you do not want to upgrade your slide, your only option really is to take a 2.5mm drill the holes in there yourself, and then set the heat inserts. This is also why if you select the T-pull section, it'll automatically select the upgraded slide as well. Now, speaking of selecting things, availability. As you've seen, apart from the T-pull that needs the upgraded slide, everything else is going to work just fine with your standard Gecko that you already have. So if you wanted to just upgrade your grip for your Gecko, totally get the Gonzo Grip System. You can select each and every individual component. I'm going to link this video to it so you can always come back to it. And then you can select how many Picatinny Rails you want, if you want small ones, how many of these grips you want, and you can select all of these things and get the full package if you want, or just get individual things. Unless you take the T-pull, it's not going to require any other modifications. If you take the T-pull, it will require a new slide, therefore you have to take your blaster apart, get the slide out, set in a new slide, and do it from there. And this is also the reason why all the Gecko 2.0 blasters and kits that I'm going to send out in the future will already have this slide in place, even if you're not going to use this system, because if you later down the road decide that you want to use this system, you can always upgrade to that. So now, with the bearings go back on, the front magazine back inserted, this is my personal favorite setup of the Gecko 2.0 and the Gonzo Grip System. Depending on the game, I would add the UV marker here or there if I needed to, but otherwise, this is my personal setup. This is my favorite. I'm going to build myself another custom colored one, just like so. Or I might just be using this one just because nostalgia and all that. So that was it for the Gonzo Grip System. I really hope you like it. I really hope you see now why we've chosen this as the standard for the Gecko 2.0. It is so flexible. It's so customizable. I really just love it. And speaking about disassembling the Gecko, this leads me to tomorrow's videos, which will be all about maintaining and repairing your Gecko, as well as solving common issues. There are going to be multiple videos about this because it's an entire series that'll start tomorrow. So make sure to come back for this one. And until then, love and sunshine, my friends.